how much of what you believe is truly your own? Have you ever wondered if this information comes from within, where you carefully weighted the information that you had and the pros and the cons, or if you simply followed what you have been told? Today, we are asking, are we all sheep? And by the end of the video, you will have a simple framework that you can use to break free from the herd and start thinking independently. And stick around, because by the end of the video, I will share a practical tip that you can use immediately in order to verify the information that you encounter. My name is Kevin, and I have too many interests, not enough time, and a drive to understand our world better. I've made a video diving deep into the different sources of knowledge, so you can check this one if you're interested. But for now, we will stick with the two broad categories set by, again, Bertrand Russell's, which give a good idea of what we mean by sources of knowledge. Russell differentiates two types of knowledge. The first one is knowledge by acquaintance. This one is really fundamental and personal. This is everything that we discover with direct experience, through our senses, for example. The second type of knowledge is knowledge by description. This is where we learn about the world through others. It could be a newspaper, social media, a teacher telling us something, everything that we didn't experience firsthand. For example, you can know that the Eiffel Tower is in Paris, but maybe you've never been in Paris. Or you can know about the Great Wall of China, but this is something that you read in a book and you never actually experienced it in person. Now, the challenge with knowledge by description is that it is the most used source of knowledge. Most of what we know comes by description. But unfortunately, this type of knowledge is quite unreliable because it depends on the knowledge of the person telling you this, it depends on how much you trust this person to tell the truth, and so on. So we need to ask ourselves, if much of our knowledge comes from others, how can we be sure it is true? To try to get a better image of it, imagine that you're simply a brain connected to a computer. And all the information that you have is given from this computer. You never had first-hand experience. You don't have a body, you cannot move, you never saw the Eiffel Tower, you never traveled to another country. If you were in this situation, the totality of your knowledge would be from second-hand experience. And I hope that you can see that in this case, you would doubt the information that you're given because it is all depending on the computer itself. And now coming back to you, you are probably not a brain connected to a computer. But every day you see information online, on social media, in newspapers. Maybe people are sharing stories and what they learn with you. All this information is second-hand knowledge. And if you never question or doubt this information, you will turn others' beliefs into your own without any filter. When we blindly accept others' information, we become a sheep. How do we get out of this? How can we protect ourselves to ensure that we are not simply accepting information from outside, but we are going through a process to ensure that the information is a high quality and that it's reliable? Well, since you're in this channel, you probably know my answer, but I believe that critical thinking is the way to protect ourselves. And critical thinking means questioning the information we get, analyzing it, and trying to find different sources to ensure it is not a single person that is stating his opinion. And through this process, we are able to shape our own views rather than depending on others. And unfortunately, again and again, the majority of the population falls into the same misinformation traps without using critical thinking to protect themselves. For example, in the horrible conflict currently between Russia and Ukraine, there was a lot of misinformation, videos about aircraft bombarding civilians that it turned out were actually not the case. This type of misinformation is becoming more and more challenging to identify because of the rise of AI and the impact of social media on our society. So we need to find a way and practical tools that help us to identify which information we can trust and which is simple manipulation. So it's not only about gathering information, but also about having the tools to interpret them correctly. And it's important for that the framework is simple, because we won't have time to dive into academic papers to try to understand a specific topic where we're on the go. Step 1, diversify your sources. You should not rely on a single source of truth to get your information. Rather, it's very important that whenever you're confronted with information that support or goes against one of your beliefs, you're keeping an open mind and try to seek other information about this topic. And this is extremely hard, because if you are a Trump supporter, it will be hard to go and read a left-leaning newspaper, and the opposite is true. But it's the only way to get a clear picture of what truly happened and created this information. Step 2, ask critical questions. Personally, I think this is the most important part, because even if you're stuck with a single source, you're still able to critically assess this information. And the questions that you can ask are very simple. Who is saying this? What is the purpose of their message? Is there a hidden agenda to that? Could something else have happened? When you do this, you're basically taking a break. Rather than following the crowd, you're standing there and you start activating your brain to better understand this information. Step 3, reflect on your own beliefs. Now that you challenge the information, it's time to take a look at yourself, trying to understand, how do you feel emotionally with what I just read? Is there any biases that push me to think in a certain way? And would someone else consider this information differently from me? At this stage, you can really try to reconsider your beliefs, and that is the goal, to keep this open-mindedness. Perhaps this new information, which at first created a strong emotional feeling, will be a way for you to reconsider your own beliefs and maybe change your perspective on the topic. Because we probably don't know everything yet. This is only with this encounter of information and critically assessing it that we are able to build a better way of thinking. With those 3 simple steps, you're better equipped to critically engage with the information you're finding everywhere. And as I said, they are extremely simple, and this is exactly what you need, because now you don't have an excuse anymore to simply accept what you read. And now I want to give you 2 bonus tips on how to leverage technology to protect ourselves from misinformation. And to do that, I am simply looking at a video on YouTube where I see a story about a Russian pilot that ejects himself from a crash. I am not sure that this information is true, so I will take a screenshot. Now I'm saving this screenshot on my desktop, and I will go to Google and do a search by image. I select it, upload the file, and now Google will show me articles or websites and posts about this story. And now I can see that indeed that was a true story, because there is many information relying this information. And now I want to use ChatGPT to do the same thing. I can simply paste this image directly and write the story. I saw this video on YouTube about a Russian fighter ejecting himself. Is that real information? And now ChatGPT will look online and give me the answer to my challenge. As stated, he confirmed that the video is authentic. It doesn't mean that it's always the case, but if something is already flagged as fake information, it will probably find it. Those tools make it extremely easy to protect ourselves from misinformation. So if there is any kind of shocking images or video that you find, take a screenshot, upload them to those services, and it can give you a first idea of the veracity of this information. But of course, don't rely only on it, because nothing is stronger than your critical thinking. So ask those questions from the frameworks and try to develop an opinion about the reality of this information. So to sum it up, we saw a simple framework and simple tools to better protect ourselves from the herd mentality. Now you won't be a sheep anymore. You can decide on which information you consider and which you should reject. And something important to say at this point is the goal is not to reject all information. I am not here saying that we shouldn't trust the media or anything, because most information that we see is actually valid. However, it doesn't mean that we should also accept everything. So there is a healthy level of doubt and skepticism when we are treating information and media. In the next video, we will look at one of the biggest threats to independent thinking, and those are echo chambers. What are they? How do they work? How do we protect ourselves from them? This is what we're going to tackle.